Hello and welcome to LaFlare Radio, episode 3. BT LaFlare here with my partners Hot Rod and Dee Greatest.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, everybody? We've got all the top sports and hip-hop news for the past week here for the third time. I'm really excited to bring to you guys what we got. We're going to start off with sports, specifically the NBA. New NBA lottery odds have been put into place. And what's going to happen is the first team, rather than having a 25% chance at the first pick, they're going to have a 14% chance. And second and third will also have a 14% chance, while fourth will have 12.5, fifth, 10.5, sixth, 9%, and seven, 7.5. So evening the chances for those top 7 teams a lot more than before. We'll start with Dee Greatest. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's wonderful. I'm glad that they don't cater to the last place teams anymore, and everything is more smooth and even, and you don't have to worry about teams going 10-72 or things like that anymore. It's more equal opportunity because there's just some teams that stack up draft picks and don't even get better. They just have them to have them. So for the teams that actually want building franchise pieces and actually want to get back into the playoff picture, that's better for them. Because there's a lot of one-piece away teams, especially these younger teams, that really could use pieces that these teams where just have, like Boston, for example, they just have many pieces, many draft picks, and don't necessarily need them, even though they're higher picks. So I think it's better off for them.
Rod?
I think that it's great for the league, and like I've mentioned in weeks before, Adam Silver's 100% on everything he's done so far in terms of efficiency and how well it's brought up the league. I think that the league is trending back towards what it was before this huge salary boom. I think that it's trending that way because teams are going to have to lean less on draft picks, and they're going to have to go and sign free agents. And with teams not having as much cap space now as it was that one year that this salary cap jumped, teams are going to have to be a lot smarter, and tanking definitely isn't an option now. So I think it's really great for the league.
Yeah, there's always going to have to be some time for the dust to settle when the cap goes up like that. So it's definitely nice to see the league settle into things now. And I agree. I think that evening the playing field for these odds is going to be a really good thing. Eliminate teams from tanking. Stan Van Gundy, in response to this week, he was just asked what he thought. And he said that he'd eliminate the NBA draft altogether to stop tanking and have rookies sign like free agents. Kind of a different idea. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far at all because I'm thinking about all these small market teams that are not as attractive as teams like LA or Miami. You know, guys coming into the league would rather go there first. You know, they would rather go to the teams in a hotter climate and go to the teams that have less state taxes, you know. So, you know, think about that. The way that everybody's mindset is changing, you know, even before LeVar Ball, people were thinking business. They were putting team loyalty to the side now. So now these kids are coming in thinking about brands. And it's being enhanced every day. And it's just not a great brand decision to build in Utah, you know. Not everybody could be Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio. You know, it's just, I would keep the draft, keep things level, you know. Let them leave in free agency.
I think Stan Van Gundy added to that he also wanted the league to have less salary cap, or no salary cap. So he was saying how if a team like Utah, like Dee Greatest was saying, wants to throw out $50 million a year to a rookie, would you rather go there or to a team like the Lakers and not play as much or something? So that's what he added to that. And I sort of get what he's trying to say, but like Dee Greatest said, that's a little too far. I think the draft is fine. And lowering the odds, I mean, we haven't seen a draft or we haven't gone through a season to where those odds matter yet. So we don't know the results yet. But as of right now, it seems fine and great.
Even in those circumstances, I still think these rookies would choose the Lakers. Like, a lot of people are money minded. Don't get me wrong, but the way that these shoe companies are paying and these other sponsors are paying, they know they're going to get their money anyway. Players are not going to play for franchises that they can't connect to. People loved watching Kobe, so everybody wants to play for the Lakers going into it. Especially, the Ball brothers going in. LaVar was saying how attractive the Lakers' history is and how they want to even elevate that. Just the idea of being a legend in a franchise like that, it's much more appealing than being a legend in Utah. A lot of these kids coming into the league didn't watch John Stockton or Karl Malone, and they wouldn't even appreciate the way that they play because the greatest attributes of those players are not relevant in today's game. The point guards in today's game is usually not pass first and just straight fundamentals and IQ like John Stockton. A lot of power forwards are not just brute force like Karl Malone and, pick and pop in the mid-range. They want to shoot threes now. So, a lot of them wouldn't connect to anybody in Brooklyn. Even though it's a major, market, at the same time, who can you think? Who can you duplicate? You want to go to Boston, while they're going to look at Kyrie now and Isaiah Thomas and Paul Pierce, you have to name these 2000 legends now because that's the guys they're looking into. Nah, keep everything the same.
But I feel like that's like a time frame relevancy type of thing. Like 10 years ago, you couldn't say that kids would want to play for the Warriors, like coming out of the draft. But now everyone would want to play for the Warriors. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's like a time relevance type of thing. And I don't know if I got thrown way more money to play on a under market team and not play and have a chance to build my brand that way, I think I would pick that. Personally, I'd pick that over playing for a historic franchise but not having the ability to showcase my talents.
There's still teams that are really going to get left out of the mix. You think of teams like the Jazz or Minnesota or Milwaukee, sort of smaller market teams that really don't have much appeal to young players.
But these young players could go in there thinking, I'll go there, build my brand, and then leave in free agency after my first contract. Like, you know what I mean? They can go to those historic franchises later on in their careers.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee's a different case due to the fact that they're rising like rapidly with Giannis and Jabari and Chris Middleton, the way that they're settled. They're just elevated in the East. And one thing that will attract free agents of all ages is winning.
Mm-hmm.
You will want to go to a winning team. You will want to be under that culture. And
exactly. And that's where the winning relevancy thing is. Like, if the Warriors lost all their players and they weren't good, then no one would want to go there anymore. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's still a few guys that want to bring franchises back.
Yeah,
there's some guys that will want to carry it in as once they start rebuilding, they start elevating back to the stature that they once held. Then people will want to follow. They did that to the Knicks. They did that with Boston again. We've referenced Boston a lot because they've been in all the scenarios.
Yeah.
But, it's some guys that want to be the ones to carry the torch as opposed to following the leader.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically, to sum it all up, there's a lot of things that make different teams appealing to different players, whether it's the market size, the history, or where the team's at right now to play on a competitive team like that. But at the end of the day, if you eliminate the draft, it's not going to be as good as if there was a draft. There needs to be a draft. If there isn't, there's going to be certain teams that get left out inevitably, that fall into a place where they're unable to sign good players in the draft, and then it's going to be really hard for them to dig out of that hole, whereas if there is a draft, they have a better chance of picking up those players. So that's kind of like what I get from the conversation as a whole.
Correct. BT, do you think eliminating a draft would help the Eastern Conference in any sort of way?
No, I don't think it would help the Eastern Conference because the only way it would is if people go to the Eastern Conference thinking that it would be less competitive so that they could better showcase their skills and get a better contract after their first couple of years. But a lot of people want competition. They want to play against the best. And as far as markets go, there's a lot more big market teams in the West than there are in the East, I think. Boston's fairly large, more because of reputation. You've got the Knicks and the Nets. They're pretty big markets, but they're not in a very good place right now. I think the Knicks are a pretty appealing team to young players considering that they're on the rise, but definitely not the Nets. Unless a player thinks that they're going to go in there and be the guy to bring the Nets back. That'd have to be a really dynamic person.
And I feel like that's what a lot of these young players feel like they can do, especially guys that are more towards the top of the draft, like top of the draft boards and stuff. They feel like they can be those guys that go to a underachieving team and turn them around. And that's the whole big thing with Kyrie when he got drafted to the Cavs, and we were talking about it before. Like I don't think he expected LeBron to come back. Like he wanted to be the guy to change Cleveland.
But then you remember a couple of years ago, like Okafor, when he was drafted to Philadelphia, he was upset. He was not happy.
Yeah, he wanted to go to New York.
Yeah.
Or LA.
Yeah. So it just depends on the case. But moving on to the next topic, another big NBA headline from this week, the All-Star Game. They're totally changing it up. It's no longer going to be East and West. It's going to be two captains, and they're going to pick the team that they want to play for them in the All-Star Game, kind of like what they've been doing in the NFL. The reason for this is because All-Star ratings are really down. Nobody's really interested in the All-Star Game the way that they used to be. Honestly, people are more interested in the competitions in the days before when the game itself is really supposed to be the big thing. So this is the NBA's attempt to make it more interesting and get viewers up. Before I ask you guys, Stephen A. said today that is basically a terrible idea, and it doesn't matter if the players aren't going to go out there and play harder than they have in the past. He said the reason that the All-Star Game isn't enjoyable is because they just go out there and mess around and don't really give that much effort. He thinks that the only way to make the All-Star Game better is if players go out and put a lot of effort in and really try to win the game. If the NBA wants that, they're going to have to put more incentive to winning the All-Star Game. So we'll start with Rod this time. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I agree to a certain degree with Stephen A., but I think that this idea will definitely bring attention to the game because it's something different and no one's really done this before in the NBA. And it'll be interesting to see like the different dynamics of the teams. Like you can get Steph Curry with LeBron now. Like that would never happen before because they're both on opposite conferences, or Kawhi Leonard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, could you imagine the defense those two guys would play together? So, like, it's really intriguing to see the different teams that came up through this idea.
I actually agree with Stephen A. more than Rod does. To me, it's all about effort. If you're not going to be serious about the game, we don't care who's playing with who. It's just as simple as that. But to go into the format, honestly, I think it's bad for the East because now we know how stacked the West is. So now we're expecting to see more West players than East players, which is bad because for the league now because you have a less chance of making new stars. Seeing people getting praised for breakout seasons, you know. If we had a poll, let's create a poll. How many East players will make the All-Star team this coming up season? For me, I think it's going to be 5. That's it.
I think that it's still going to be picked East and West, though, like the way they've picked it in the past. Like fans are voting for the captain.
It's still the same as far as selecting the All-Stars. They're going to have the same pool of players to pick from.
Yeah, the captains are just picking from that pool of players. So it doesn't matter which team that they're on, but it's still going to be like coaches voted players in.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Because I'm thinking from the way that it was given to me, like I was thinking the captains had more control, and I was thinking how Chuck and Shaq were like captains when it came into the rookie sophomore games, and how they had a pool of players, and some players weren't selected. Some players did get on their team and going by that, and it's some it was more guard heavy than big man heavy, sort of that nature. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. At least this does draw more attention to it, and people are going to watch it just because it's the first time.
Yeah.
We'll have to see down the road if it's something that will sustain more attention to the game. Of course, the first year they do it, since it's something new, people are going to pay more attention to it.
And I feel like the players might have a little more effort into it as well, because they're going to have some sense of pride in the team that they're playing for, because they got picked to that team and it's not just East versus West anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there might be, and there's a couple rivalries. Like if LeBron and Kevin Durant are the captains, LeBron might pick up Westbrook and KD might pick up Kyrie, and that would be an interesting little storyline in the game.
So the next topic, Russell Westbrook signed a huge contract this past week, $205 million on Kevin Durant's birthday. What are your thoughts?
Very funny that it happened on Kevin Durant's birthday. I'm going to be nice. I don't think it had anything to do with Durant's birthday. I really think it was just getting a check. But with that in mind, this will only be a great decision if this leads OKC to the finals. Because if you look at Westbrook's track record solely on him being without KD, you averaged a triple-double, but you didn't get past the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And you look in the competition that's in the West, and you seen these teams that are stacked, and some of that money could have been getting better depth, because the biggest question mark with OKC is the bench. So some of that money could have went to that. We see players sacrificed for the betterment of the team. Not to say that what Westbrook did was selfish. Absolutely not. If anything, he's loyal for re-signing that. Even though, it should be easy to resign if you get Carmelo and Paul George on your team. But anyways, I will really have to see what the future holds out in order to judge that contract. It could be as good as, a Kevin Durant, but it could be as bad as a Joe Johnson. It all depends on the W's and the L's. Westbrook is at a point where stats doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I completely disagree. I think you go out and get as much money as you can. You deserve it. He deserves it. He's the MVP. Stephen Curry got the $205 million contract as well, and no one's worried about how they're going to, construct their team. Another thing from this is that I believe it was 100% pettiness on Westbrook to sign it on Kevin Durant's birthday.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they had that offer on the table since the day the season ended, and he decided on that day to sign it. Like on any other day, he could have done it. And the year before, or not the year before, but a couple years before, he sent out a tweet on Kevin Durant's birthday saying, "Love you, like brothers for life," type of thing. So I know he knew that date was his birthday.
That's interesting. I mean, I can see both sides. I definitely think that he had to go out and get his money, especially this time. Maybe once this contract is up, and if OKC is in a place where he needs to take a pay cut, he will. We'll see what happens then. There's a big question mark next to this team. How's it going to pan out? They don't have much of a bench. And we're just going to have to see what happens. Moving on to the next topic. Mike Beasley, who's really gotten a lot of news these last couple of weeks, says talent-wise he matches up with KD and LeBron. DG.
What year did he say this? Oh, it was 2017. Absolutely not. Definitely not defensively. Absolutely not defensively. Offensively, not Beasley. The only reason why I'm going to say no is because we've seen them in high volume. The best season we've seen you play was in Minnesota. I believe you got to, 17 a game, I believe? We're talking about guys that went to 25 and 30 points per game. You know, guys that actually led the league in scoring. Guys that finished in top 10 in the scoring. Guys that finished in top 20 in the scoring. You know, I could go on. But, you know, Beasley, I know you're excited because Carmelo's gone and you get to get free shots with New York. And you were in the league for a good amount of time. And you probably happy to be back. You performed well when you did come back. I will pump the brakes, bruh.
Yeah, the best season, to add to that, the best season Beasley had was with the Timberwolves in 2010, 7 years ago. He had 19.2
19
points a game, shooting 45%,
What about from three?
37.6.
Not terrible. But KD used to shoot 40 from three.
Not not terrible, but not type of stats where you're comparing yourself to the two best players in the league.
Oh, no.
Rod?
I disagree with you guys. He said talent-wise, Michael Beasley coming into the league, he was one of the most talented guys, and that's why he was fighting with Derrick Rose to be the number one pick in the draft. And, like, I don't really think you can lose talent in a sense. Guys come into the league and guys come in for different reasons and different motivations. Some guys play for money. Some guys play for the love of the game. Some guys play to be the best. And that mindset doesn't really affect the talent. Like, if Michael Beasley had Kobe Bryant's mentality, he has the body and he had the talent to be one of the best players in the league. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but Beasley ain't that level of talent. I'm sorry. Like how I mentioned before, definitely not defensively. So when you judge talent, you judging everything that comes naturally. You know, LeBron came in a natural talent on both ends. Beasley never came in with defensive mind state. KD, no, he had to grow into his defensive mind state coming into the year right before he went into the Warriors. But even then, he still came into the league more offensively gifted than Beasley for the fact that he was better from distance. You know, Beasley probably was better in the paint. I don't think is a stretch. I think we saw
Beasley was averaging like damn near 30 points a game coming into the league.
Who did he play for?
Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, I think he
Durant came from Texas.
Yeah, I think with Texas, you had a little more sacrifice to give than Kansas State.
Kansas State was good at the time.
Because of Beasley, right?
And they had Jacob Pullen, and they were in the Elite Eight every year during that stretch. Kansas State was a powerhouse at that time. They've lost steam recently, but around that time, they were a pretty good team.
I don't know, man. I think with the program that Texas was, the ones that was really was gifted with basketball, I think you had a little more to give when it comes to Kevin Durant. I think it's more so like how the Dukes and the Kentuckys, where guys are coming in really great. We know they can do everything, but the coaches want them to focus on a few focal points of their game in order for them to get better and let their teammates go on others as opposed to having them do everything. To me, when I saw Mike Beasley in Kansas State, he had to do everything, and he did everything. So that's why I feel like he had more pull. But at the same time, you know, they both got drafted second. But
you said he had to do everything, so doesn't that go into talent?
No, because we didn't see everything that Kevin Durant could do until he got into the league. And that's why Kevin Durant had a better rookie season than Michael Beasley.
But we're talking about talent, though. We're not
I'm
talking about
talent,
who was
but
better.
Talent goes into production, don't you think?
Well, it depends where you're measuring these talents and how you define talent, I think. So the way Paris is defining talent is a little different than the way that you're defining talent, I think. And it's just about how you look at basketball. And when you look at a talented player, what attributes you pay a lot of attention to and what attributes you don't pay so much attention to.
Let me clear it up. I think no one really loses talent, but how you apply it and how you execute your talent is what shows off. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. Like, Beasley never really lost his talent, but how he applies it and executes it within the game, that's on his part. That's on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying earlier, had he had like Kobe Bryant mindset and with his body and his skill set, he could have been a really good player. I don't know if he'd be the best player in the league, but he'd be a really good basketball player.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I can hear what you're saying. Honestly, I haven't really followed Mike Beasley very heavy. I know he's a good shooter, but what I've seen of him, he doesn't have great defense. Last year was his most efficient year playing in the NBA. His least minutes, but he shot 53%, which was best of his career. And from three-point, he shot 41.9, which was by far the best of his career, save for his rookie season. He shot 40.7, but he didn't break 40 any other year. It'll be interesting to see how he is on this Knicks team, though. He's going to have a lot more minutes than he did with the Bucks, and he's going to be a lot more of a bigger part of that team. So this could be a comeback year for Beasley. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he's going back to what we know him to be. When the shot attempts go up, the field goal percentage typically goes down.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah. So moving on to the next topic, the Cavs, or news came out this week that the Cavs are going to start Love at center and Crowder at the 4. And Tristan Thompson is going to come off the bench, of course, as sort of a six-man, as a big. What do you guys think about this?
I called this from the second they traded Kyrie. I knew that it would be a better idea to start Kevin Love at the 5, especially with the downwards trend of the league turning into smaller, athletic guys. I think Kevin Love can get away with playing at the 5 now. And without much big man help off the bench, if they were to start Tristan Thompson, I think it's fine to have him as a 6-man. And it's a role that he's played in before. I also think that this is a good move for LeBron. And depending on whether they do decide to start Dwayne Wade or not, this gives LeBron a lot more floor space. And it also gives D Rose and D Wade more room to slash and penetrate to the basket. So I think this is a good move for them in terms of floor spacing and defense as well, too. Crowder's a really good defender and can take some of the pressure off LeBron guarding some of the best perimeter wings in the league. And we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, see, this is why I don't have a lot of faith in Cleveland, man. I mean, they didn't have much choice but to put Kevin Love at the 5 because you can't put him off the bench. You know, I like them putting Tristan on the bench. But at the same time, I still think they need a 7-footer. They need a big somewhere. Jay Crowder, to me, is like how you said, how he was a great perimeter defender. He is a great perimeter defender. But when you go into the 4s, a lot of these 4s can switch up and then take them to the post. I think he's going to struggle when a 4 takes him down low. And then, you know, he's not built like LeBron. The body contact and the constant pressure from these bigs on Jay is probably going to wear down on him to the point where it might just fatigue him because he's not used to being down there that much. To me, it's going to work for the regular season. I really feel like nobody's going to know what I'm talking about when I talk about my issues with Cleveland until they get to the finals. Because in the East, so much lack of talent, and then their best competition is not a great rebounding team either. So
watch out for the Heat.
The Heat can give them some issues because Hassan Whiteside is a load. There's nobody on Cleveland that can match Hassan Whiteside.
No.
I'm glad you agreed to that. And then with these teams that can defend the rim, like, you know, it's really hard in this league to just depend on offense. It really is. People really don't give the Warriors enough credit for their defense because even though they might not be great at protecting the rim as much some as other teams, they got better at it. But what they really were good at was defending the 3. They were great at killing you from 3 and shutting you down from 3. I don't see this with this Cleveland team. And I definitely don't see Kevin Love doing nothing defensively.
I think this Cleveland team is going to have to take on a lot of different faces. With the different players that they have, they're not just going to be one thing, especially now with Dwayne Wade. You can either have an athletic backcourt that can drive the lane and make baskets there, or a backcourt that can sit back and hit threes, or a front court that's a little smaller that can be a little more versatile, or you can get Tristan Thompson in there, get a little bit more height and strength. What Kevin Love has shown, though, is that despite his height and his size, he can compete and grind down there for rebounds, and he can hang with a lot of those guys. But when you get to a guy that's significantly taller than him, even JaVale McGee, it's going to be hard to contest in the post with a guy that size, especially if JaVale is working on that shot. It'll be interesting to see. Another thing that comes to mind for me is physically, this season is going to take a toll on Kevin Love if he's playing at the 5. To be going up against those big NBA centers every game through the whole season, it's going to be something that his body has never endured before, and he's going to get knocked around a little bit. So by the end of the season, especially because he's getting older now, by the end of the season, where's his body going to be at if he's at the 5 every game?
Just like Jay at the 4.
And I think they're going to adjust to that. They're going to start out with it. But I think that they'll just have Tristan play his regular minutes. He's just not going to start at the beginning of the game. So I think that you'll still see Love at the 4. You'll still see Crowder at the 3. It's just that they're just going to start, and depending on their matchups, Tristan may play more, or K-Love may play more at the 5. So it all depends on the matchups, honestly.
But then that takes away from their full-court game, because in order for them to succeed, they're going to have to be a full-court offense. Tristan and Kevin Love can't both run. You know, some of them, they're going to be slacking, especially with teams go small. You know, not everybody goes small at the same time. Sometimes the team, due to coaching, catches off guard, and then they're just going to catch Tristan and Kevin Love slipping. And even with Tristan Thompson back on the court, I didn't think Kevin Love would struggle with rebounds. The thing is, you got to miss in order to get a rebound. With Tristan, it's about the same way, because it's not like he's an elite shot blocker either, or rim protector. Then he has cases where, you know, he's not that much bigger than Kevin Love. There's a lot of athletic wings that are their height now these days, who can match them by strength these days. You know, not Tristan when it comes to strength, but Kevin Love probably, you know, and can jump higher than them. They're not that athletic. We've seen it in the finals where Tristan struggled to get rebounds, but Steph would get almost double-digit. Well, got double-digit rebounds? Like, come on, y'all. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that's enough. I feel like they just need to go get a big, not Kendrick Perkins, a productive big.
I thought last year when they signed Bogut, that would have been a huge help to them in the finals. And then Bogut ended up getting hurt like 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
But still, even though Bogut's not what he was, having him in the finals at least would give Tristan somebody to come off the bench for him and be another big. So, yeah, I agree. It would be nice to see him sign another big during the season. I don't feel like they will. Maybe they will. You never really know what's going to happen. But, you know, like I keep saying, we're not going to know until we get into it. So we're getting really close. I'm really excited for this season, and I just can't wait to see what happens, especially as a Caps fan. So the last basketball topic for today, LaVar Ball is pulling LaMelo, his youngest son, out of high school to train with him for 2 years. What are your guys' original thoughts on this?
I don't disagree with the idea, but the reasoning kind of catches me off guard.
And what's that?
Well, supposedly the reason behind LaVar removing LaMelo is because they got a new coach, and the new coach came in and was like, LaMelo's not going to shoot the ball 50 times a game anymore. Like, the way they used to play is not the way they're going to play anymore. And LaVar didn't agree with it, and so that's why he's deciding to pull LaMelo out of high school and training him himself.
I hate everything about this situation. LaMelo, look, there's nothing you could do in a backyard that's going to prepare you for organized basketball. I don't care. What anybody says, you can work out and get as much shape as you want. You do as many drills. But at the same time, how are you going to react without the voice of your father? How are you going to handle a locker room? AAU ball is not good enough. No, I mean, the talent is good enough, but AAU is not a direct correlation to how college is operated, not how NBA is operated. You need a better structure. You need to learn how to deal with people other than the ones that are closest to you. You need how to You need to learn how to deal with personalities that you're not familiar with. LaMelo already has shown cases of immaturity. You know, talking about beat that in the WWE, forcing them to make public apologies for racial epitones. His shot selection is still awful, and then all you're doing is cheering on that green light he has. I've seen LeVar coach him correctly at times, talking about his game and how he's not going to be as successful as his brother if he actually utilizes the team. But how is he going to utilize a team if you don't allow him to be on the team? So I just don't agree with anything about that situation at all.
I don't know. Everything with this Ball family is hard to even speculate on. It's something different. It's all a show. It's all just for headlines. And I feel bad for LaMelo, even though his head's too big to fit in the room right now. At the end of the day, he's losing his childhood. So moving on to football now. Let's talk about first, the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't off to quite the start that we expected them to be, especially with Le'Veon Bell and AB back. This last weekend, AB had a serious outburst on the sideline after not receiving a pass from Ben Roethlisberger when he was supposedly wide open. And then a couple days ago, Roethlisberger responded that it was a distraction. It wasn't overall, it just wasn't a good thing for the team, and they don't need any of that. What's going to happen with the Steelers going forward? Do you guys think that this is going to be a problem that continues to grow between the two and for the team? Is he going to be sort of a problem more than he's a help?
The classic case of the prima donna wide receiver, huh? Honestly, all will be forgiven if you stack these W's. The biggest issue with that, though, is it's never a guarantee that the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to win anymore. I've always been curious about Pittsburgh because for a couple years they had the same mode of Hall of Fame elite crazy offense but trash defense. I forgot who said this particular, but it was on Fox. They said it beautifully. You're not going to win in this league unless you can play defense. I mean, with AB, Le'Veon, Hall of Fame Ben Roethlisberger, Martavius Bryant, who's been quiet this season, you would think that would be enough, but without a great defense, you're going to continue to lose. I mean, think about it. Y'all lost to the Bears. Like, that should tell you yourself that you need to fix your issues. All this sideline temper tantrums, talking through the media, is just a reflection of frustration.
I started off by saying they're not off to the start that you expect. They're 3-1, which is a good start, but you got to look at who they've been playing. They played the Vikings week 1, shut them down defensively. They won that game 26-9. Then they lost to the Bears 23-17. And then now they beat the Ravens 26-9, but it's the Ravens. When you look at their division, that's really a large attribute to the success that they've had. There's just not a lot of competition in that division. You've got the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals. It's like you're inevitably going to have at least an above 500 record playing those teams. So what's really going to be the test is 2 weeks from now when they play in Kansas City against the Chiefs. I'm interested to see how they do that game. Maybe they can shore things up in time. Meanwhile, they've got the Jaguars this weekend, which isn't going to be easy either.
Hell no.
I think that while AB was wrong for his temper tantrum on the sideline, I feel like he had the right to be upset. If you can look back at that play, had Big Ben looked at him on that play, he was completely open. There was no one within 20 to 30 yards of him. He would have literally walked into the end zone. But he had no right to throw that tantrum and throw the Gatorade cooler and slap the coach's hand off of his shoulder. Like, he had no reason to do all of that. And they'll work on that. They're both veterans on a veteran team. Like, this isn't one of those young teams that are up and rising. They've been there. They've done that. I think they'll figure it out and they'll be ready for the playoffs. Whether they'll move on and win, it depends on the matchup and how well they play, obviously. But they're a veteran team. They'll figure it out.
So let's now take a look at the Buffalo Bills. They've started off 3-1, sort of surprising everybody, and now they lead the AFC East ahead of the Patriots, who haven't really gotten off to quite the start. They have gotten a little bit better these last couple of weeks, but definitely not what we were expecting, considering all the hype during the offseason. Everybody thought they were going to come back even better after winning the Super Bowl. This is a team that has a lot of youth to it, and Sean McDermott, a first-year coach, really trying to bring out the best of Tyrod Taylor and sort of hide his weaknesses. Do you think that they can sustain this level of play for the rest of the season, or is it just a good start?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they had a good start, but it's also they can sustain it because they've beaten good teams. They've beaten the Super Bowl losers, Atlanta Falcons, and they've beaten one of the best defenses in the league, Denver Broncos. So they have the body of work so far to show that they can sustain it. But whether they do, it all depends on, one, how the rest of the division fares. If the Jets keep playing how they are, they could even beat the Bills. If the Patriots stay where they are, the Bills could beat them and make them look bad, and the Dolphins can't score on anybody right now. So they can really sustain it if they keep how they are and keep their defense great, because Coach McDermott came from the Panthers, and they've been historically good the past few years, and I think that he's really had an impact on that defense.
I think the Buffalo Bills have finally arrived. Seeing them these past couple of years, I've always seen a team that was very talented but just lacked guidance, lacked great coaching, but the talent was always there. I think getting Shady was beautiful for their long term, and it's been showing. Yeah, the way that I'm a Patriots guy. The way that we perform is underwhelming. So to take advantage, keep collecting these W's while we're down, you can possibly steal the division unexpectedly. And hey, if you can get a first or second, get a bye week and get home throughout the playoffs, you can actually do something. Like I could see the Bills really doing more. I don't think they're one of these teams that are just going to the playoffs and they're going to lose their first game after the bye week. We've seen pretender teams like that. I think the Buffalo Bills are pretty for real. Crazy logic alert, though, as a fan of the Patriots, I think maybe it might work out best for us because we can't win a home game at all, right? So maybe we get a 6 seed and then we're on the road all playoffs and then we just win every, right?
I mean, if that's the way you want to look at it, if you're already giving up this season in week 4, then I guess so.
No, I'm not giving up. But, man, we got to get our stuff together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind the Patriots not making the playoffs.
I would.
That would be pretty wild. I mean, this NFL season has come around to be pretty interesting. You got a lot of teams that have really come to fruition, and I feel like the playing field is a lot more level.
Yeah, this is the most unpredictable I've seen the league in a while.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
I really do like it.
So sports in general, between the NBA and the NFL, just a lot to be excited about. Moving on to the next topic, that's going to do it for football today. A little bit, I guess, sort of football, but more pop culture. O.J. Simpson is free. He's running the streets, out of jail. He was released Sunday morning. And, yeah, what do you think about that, Rod?
The juice is loose. I mean, it's whatever. He did his time. He's out. As long as he doesn't do anything dramatic and is back on the headlines, he's fine. Go do you, OJ. Live the rest of your life and stay out of trouble.
Oh, you must not know OJ. He's going to do something dramatic. He's going to get himself back in the headlines. He wrote a book saying, if I did kill her. Like, come on now. OJ has always been in the limelight. He always liked attention. He always liked being the center of things. He's cocky. He's arrogant. You know, He thinks things are gonna go his way. And only time he really broke down was in the second trial. In the first trial, he really didn't break a sweat. If you looked at him put on a glove that didn't fit, he was over there smiling, cheesing like, my lawyers got this. He know he had the best team. He knew he was gonna get off. Man, OJ is gonna make appearances. He's gonna talk. He's going to make crazy statements. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to put himself back into the NFL. And I don't think the NFL would accept him, but I know he's gonna probably make some sort of attempt. Just because he's old doesn't mean that he's gonna stay in the house. No, OJ is gonna be out.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Do you think that after everything that's went down, a guy would want to just sit back and live out the rest of his days in peace? But like you were saying, what we've come to know from OJ, he loves to be in the spotlight. Haven't heard a whole lot yet, but I'm sure if he wanted to be, there's a lot of people that would pay some cash to have him appear on their show. So
Of course.
we'll just have to see what happens with that. Now, moving over to hip-hop for the last part of the show. Don't have a ton of hip-hop stuff for today, but we will start with Migos. A lot of rappers coming out with movies nowadays. Migos is coming out with a movie of their own written by Quavo. What do you guys think about this? Is this something that you look out for? Do you think that they can do pretty well, put something out that's decent? If you remember, on the first season of Atlanta, Migos actually appeared in an episode. That's Donald Glover's show. And they did pretty well. I thought it was pretty good acting. I mean, they were very much themselves. They didn't have to play some sort of outside role.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like to see the little cameo, and I'll be interested to see them in their own sort of feature.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I'm the guy that's, when it comes to hip-hop, I'm looking for the lyrics. But I understand where the game is right now, and I understand everybody wants to turn up. And, they always had great production. They always been catchy. That's really all you need. I know they're going to attack the radio heavy, so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And please look forward to the second season of Atlanta, because that's a great show, too, that we really need to talk about one day, because Atlanta's amazing.
I want to talk about it, but the thing is that we're going to have to wait probably another full year before the next season comes out.
Man.
Donald Glover is just so stretched. He's spread thin between a lot of different things. And right now, I think, or at least for the past couple months, his primary focus has been his Lando role in the new Star Wars movie.
Most definitely.
But Rod, what do you think? Are you looking out for a movie from Migos?
Oh, yeah. I love the Migos. And just the fact that Quavo's writing it just brings a different type of excitement to it.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how he does as a producer and writer.
Quavo's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's really interesting, and I think he could put something together that's pretty cool. This just hit me at the top of my head right now, and we didn't talk about it before, but what is your guys' favorite movie that stars a rapper in it? Your favorite one?
Friday.
That's
my favorite movie anyway.
Oh, that's too easy.
I know, right?
That's too easy.
I can't help
too
it.
easy.
That
I wasn't
is a
even
hood
thinking.
classic.
Yeah, that's too easy.
Cube was amazing.
Yeah,
Yours is
I
Friday
can't
too?
even argue with that one.
I don't know.
I really like Mac and Devin Go to High School.
I like
Oh,
Mac and Devin Go to
what?
High School, but it's definitely not a cinematic masterpiece.
It's not, but I'm a Wiz guy.
I like the movie and all, but man, didn't we just drop down from Friday to Back in Devin?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't throw a Will Smith movie in somewhere.
Does he count?
Yes, he counts. He was the man in the 80s. What? He had hits.
I mean,
out
he
there.
had the first ever rap Grammy.
You feel me?
That's true.
So
Well, I mean, I was born in the '90s, so I don't really.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was too.
I don't really count. I'm saying I don't really count like being a part of the '80s. You know.
yeah, that's true. Recently, I think my favorite movie that rapper is one of the main characters of the last couple years or so was Dope. A$AP Rocky was sort of a bigger part of that movie. I thought that was really good.
I really like that movie too.
Dope was some of the greatest sleep I ever had in my life.
What?
Really? You didn't like it?
No, I didn't like
Okay.
it.
To each their own, I suppose.
Yeah, most definitely.
So now I got a question for you guys. If you could pick one artist to write a new national anthem, who would it be? Rod?
I would go. I'll give it to Dee Greatest. Come back to me.
All right.
I been had mine. Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars. That man is Mr. Entertainment. Man, I've never seen somebody get so much love from all communities, but people love Bruno. So if he had his hand on the national anthem, man, I'm standing up, I'm doing jumping jacks, I'm clapping, I'm doing everything because I know he's going to make us move. And, you know, I think he would really flip it because this one we got right now, I'm not rocking with it.
Yeah. I mean, Vince Staples said the national anthem don't slap. That's for sure.
He right about
It's
that.
pretty outdated.
Who you got, BT?
Y'all are gonna hate me for this, but I think that Logic would put together a really good national anthem.
Oh, man.
I think with the right vocals on there, I think he could put together something pretty good. Or Khaled. I really like Khaled.
I love Logic. I don't know. I think he's going to get everybody over their heads. And they going to be like, what?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A lot of
know.
stuff does. Yo, I love Logic, man. Like, his lyricism and his flow are unbelievable.
Facts.
I mean, bringing back real rap. I love his albums, but my favorite project of his was Young Sinatra 3.
Ooh.
Yes, he
Yes,
slid
sir.
on that. But we're getting off topic.
My guy.
Yeah, Rod. Who's your guy?
My guy would be Drake.
Drake?
Oh, shit. I mean, shoot.
He's not even. He's not even.
That's the first thing I thought. He's not even American.
Yeah.
I don't think he cares. He'd still write it.
Nah, he would.
I just think he'd be great at it. He would, or he
He might
probably wouldn't
be.
even write it. He'd have his ghostwriter write it, and he would sing and rap the hell out of it. So I
Yeah.
think that
Unfortunately, I think that the national anthem is here to stay for years to come.
yeah.
Ooh.
But it would be kind of nice to see it redone, or at least somebody just throw something out there. Like, if I were to make a national anthem,
Yeah.
this is it. You know,
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool.
Or Gucci.
Gucci. I still got to get his book. I'm gonna make sure this week I'm gonna get it so that I can start talking about it.
Hey, you go to the South and you ask who would they want? They'd want Gucci.
I would thought they would say Boozy.
Nah.
All right, so next topic. Quavo and Travis Scott, that collab is coming very, very soon. Are you guys looking out for that one?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big Quavo guy, and even like out of the three Migos, like Quavo is my favorite. So
I like Quavo. I think Travis Scott is overrated. Not gonna lie.
I think he's overrated too.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
He's got a unique sound,
yes.
and I can respect that he's got his own sound. But
Personally,
he's a poor man's Young Thug.
in a sense, to me,
So disrespectful.
Yo, I don't mind, man. I've tried. I've put in the effort. I've listened to it. Every song that comes out, I listen to it. It's all right. But
I
it's
like
like
Young
every
Thug.
other. It's like every other one of those
Travis
guys.
is way better than Young Thug. I want to hear that.
oh,
They get a
that
dope
one.
beat. They slap the auto tune on, get a nice little hook, and then the rest is like, okay.
I like Travis Scott, but I only like him on like certain songs, and like
Yeah.
I'm not a big like he's always like straight up.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean,
it's all right sometimes, but I feel like it's overused.
I think Quavo and him though could team up and do something nice.
Mm-hmm.
Quavo is one of those guys that could really bring out the best.
I
out of
don't.
a guy like
The thing
that.
with me is, I don't know if anyone will ever pull off what Drake and Future did, like randomly collabing together, and I feel like that's what a lot of people are trying to do.
I mean, the thing about that though is you got to think about how hot those guys were at that time. They were so hot. I mean, Dirty Sprite 2 had just dropped. Drake had just come out with If You're Reading This It's Too Late. The two absolute hottest rappers in the game at that time teamed up and put all their effort into one album. I mean, the only thing in the past that I can remember that got close to that as far as a collab album goes would be Watch the Throne.
If you go further than that, you could go with Jay-Z and R. Kelly. We could go, but that's including R&B artists. But the top rapper at the time, the top R&B artist at one time, and they made 2 albums as well. So, but y'all sleeping on Travis, man. Both of his albums were tight. And you know what? I'll even be controversial. Travis is a better solo artist than the Migos by themselves. Yep, I said it.
I mean,
That's debatable.
All of them except for Quavo.
Nope,
Yeah.
Quavo too.
That's debatable.
He could be on my hook though.
I think.
Oh, Quavo's
Well,
one of the
Travis-
top hookmen.
I think Travis has had a little bit more time, so give Quavo another year or so and see what happens. Considering that, at least, Travis does have a very strong base of fans, though.
Yes, he does.
So-
That's so true.
Yeah.
He does. He does have his niche of fans. Like
Yeah.
they're there to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's not great. I'm not saying that
Yeah,
he's
it's just
trash.
a personal thing.
I just think that he's not. There's some rappers that get really, really boosted, and I'm sitting here not understanding why. I think that Travis Scott is just one of those guys. It's really, really boosted, and I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I
And
can
it's
understand.
also a part of how they build their brands as well. I think he's
Yes.
done a really great job of just building his brand.
Mhm.
And another person that I can compare to that as well is Lil Yachty. I don't think Lil Yachty is very good personally, but he's done such a great job building his brand and finding his niche of fans. And
Yachty's a
really-
great feature guy, but that album was trash.
Yachty's not a great anything. He's
I-
awful.
I think that he's a great feature guy because he just brings in that sound, and it's something different, and it pairs well with a lot of other flows. So he can come in and really change up a track, give it some versatility, and it sounds good, He's got one thing I can like about him is he's just a fun-loving, open, happy
Yeah.
kind of dude, and people are gravitated to that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I get from Yachty. But I mean, I think a year from now, nobody's going to be talking about Yachty. That's my opinion. I think that he's just one of those guys that comes and goes.
Yeah, I can see that.
We just have a few topics left. Tyrese this week. Don't usually hear a lot about Tyrese, but he put out an Instagram post of XXX Tentacion and said, basically, this is what happens when you're all zanned out and leaned out on drugs, and this is not what we want to be representing to our youth. We've talked a lot about XXX the last couple of shows. He's been really headlining with all his different things. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad with this kid so far. What are your thoughts on Tyrese's remarks?
Tyrese is not a role model his damn self. I know a lot of women that hate Tyrese. The advice that he gives is awful. The way he portrays himself on the internet is not somebody that I want to duplicate. Aren't you a pot calling the kettle black? Talk about somebody as a role model. Man, I mean, you're wrong. I agree to a certain extent because I think XXX lost his mind with the unibrow. I think the way he be looking has been crazy. But at the same time, Tyrese, you of all people, I guess it's one of those don't shoot the messenger, listen to the message type things. I guess.
Yeah, I agree with Dee Greatest. I mean, I don't know too much about Tyrese and his background, but he's so right. He's so on point with XXX. He's lost his mind, and he's been doing a lot of crazy stuff lately. And
Well, you take a person that is mentally unstable to begin with, and then you give them fame and a ton of attention, and that's the result that you get, in my opinion. Similar to a guy like Boonk.
yeah,
You
I
know?
hate him.
I'm so
I hate
tired
that
of seeing
dude.
that guy. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't put him on the LaFlare page. I don't really put XXX
won't
on there
either.
either because I don't care if somebody's hot. I don't care if people want to see something from somebody. If they're an absolute fool and just doing foolish stuff, I'm not out here to promote that.
Yeah, first and foremost, LaFleur, what we do is promote talent.
Yes.
There is nothing talented about Boonk. Don't get me wrong. These rappers might rap about criminal activity, whatever, but there's some sort of melody that just catches our attention, and we just go crazy about it. Boonk, on the other hand, This fool goes into the church and starts fights. Really, dude? Nah, I can't respect you.
Nah.
You think you're the black Joker now? Like,
Foolish.
I mean, I'm not gonna laugh because you get yourself arrested and you constantly snitch on yourself, bro. That's not entertainment to me. You a clown. I wouldn't shake your hand.
I mean, nowadays, with the way that the internet is and virality and the money that comes with just getting views, people are willing to give up their reputation and any sort of pride and just get out there and act a fool for the gram. And sadly, they're able to make some money off of it.
That's ridiculous.
He's make a lot more than some.
Yeah.
I think he's done a great job of just branding himself. Like nowadays, it's all about building your brand, and the Boot Gang brand, that's a real thing. Like a lot of people say that, a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
And when they do it, they say it now. It's like it's turned in a new word. If you say Boot Gang, people know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
It's true. It's sad. It's sad but true.
Yeah, I'm with Meek though. If anybody says "boonk" around me, I'm turning around and lighting them up.
So next up, Dee Greatest. We want to hear your review of the new Party Next Door album. A little bit more of an EP. His second EP of the year, I think. It's only 7 tracks, but you said you were disappointed.
Highly disappointed. And it pains me to say this because I am a huge Party Next Door supporter. You know me, I don't use the word fan. I don't believe in being a fan of anybody. But when somebody does catch my attention, I tend to gravitate towards them. And Party most definitely has grabbed my attention for these past couple of years. I loved his first album. The second album was a personal classic. The third album to me was not as great as the first two, but it was still pretty good in a sense. But I've seen some slippage since then. Colors 2 EP was pretty good. But you know, before songs, it's hard to really give a review. To me, you just have to enjoy it for what it is. 7 Days was trash. I'm not even gonna lie. And it hurts me to say that. It was trash. The first song, it just sounded like there was no sound engineer to let the producer know that you're off beat. Because the background was really just messing with the song. It was horrible. And it's another song towards the end that was like that as well. So I would say the second song and the third song, those were the best production songs because those beats were beautiful in their own little way because the songs are totally different. But with the second song, it seemed like Party was hit catching. He was trying to catch something that was catchy, catchy to the audience and try to do multiple songs from different eras. I mean, not eras, but different genres to trying to get something that sticks. So it was a lot of inconsistencies and none of it really turned out well outside of the third song. The third song was the only great song that was featured.
Was it Rick Ross?
No. The Rick Ross song was later. I think it was the 5th.
Okay.
That song in particular was the other song that was when the production was offbeat.
Mm-hmm.
The Rick Ross, he was cool, but Rick Ross never makes any lyrics that's life changing. So
True.
it was just same old Ross, and then Party didn't even bring his best written material. I think the song I'm referring to, the third song was featured Hazley, and it was pretty good. It was more so of a pop feel,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a good song. Not my cup of tea, but I respect it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing on this EP was downloadable. If I had to rate it from like En Fuego to Flare to Smoke, this was Smoke.
Yeah. One thing I have to say about Party Next Door, and I haven't really followed him super heavy. I'm not as into that kind of a sound personally, but his first project seems like it was his best. And I just haven't seen any sort of artistic progression as time has gone on. It seems like he just hasn't really evolved, and he's still kind of putting out a very similar kind of sound, but he hasn't really been able to build on it.
I think with that, Party does a lot of writing behind the scenes. So the type of artist he is, he's a reflection of the industry. So whatever you hear from what's going on around, you would get from him. Because there were songs where I thought he sounded like Frank Ocean. There were songs I thought he sounded like The Weeknd. Of course, he's gonna sound like Drake since he's OVO, but really Drake sounds like him because Party writes for Drake.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go as far to say he's a wave catcher, but I like that word that I use. He's a reflection. He's a reflection. He's one of those artists that are not going to change the game, but his own spin can be really, really nice.
And that's the one thing is he is a magnificent writer. You go in that dude's house, and he put a video up the other day. He's got so many plaques, he doesn't even have wall space to fit them on because he's contributed to so many different tracks for so many different artists that have gone huge. So that's one part of the dude's game that you got to just give him some respect.
Most definitely.
It's unreal. So, Rod, now moving on to another big album that dropped this past week, A Boogie with a Hoodie dropped a very long-anticipated debut album. What's your review on it?
I liked it personally. I think that A Boogie with a Hoodie is one of those artists that really showcased his talents on this album, and it proves that he has sort of the talent and the versatility to really get to that next step and really become a big artist.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him grow off of that Drowning track. The Drowning track got a ton of attention, and it sort of picked up a secondary wave here. Kodak really complimented him well on that one. But I think he came out and put out a very solid first project, especially after releasing his EP TBA. He needed to come out and do well since it was so highly anticipated and we had to wait so long for it. And it's a well-mixed album. It hit pretty hard, and I think it's designed with a kind of style that is very much him that only he can sort of provide.
Yeah, and with this album, he had a lot of great features. Well, great name features. Like he had 21, he had Kodak, he had Trey Songz and Chris Brown. So he had the star power behind his features, and he did a really good job hitting a lot of different styles and different types of crowds that would like these different type of styles. So I think it was a pretty good album from him.
And then now looking into the future, some huge news this week. Eminem's album is supposedly done. So maybe we'll be getting it sooner than we thought. We don't know exactly what done means, but one of his producers and sort of his hype man now, Denon Porter, came out on an Instagram live feed this week and said it's done. So that's exciting, especially considering we haven't heard anything about it since 2 Chainz had mentioned working on a track with him back in July. A lot of people seem to think that it's coming before the end of the year, but none of that has really been confirmed. But now it's been since 2014 since his last album, so we talked about it on the first show, but really looking forward to that.
Like we said on the first show, we just got to see what he's coming with because he doesn't have anything left to prove in the game. He's been at a point where he was the top dog. He's been at a point where he fell off and got his redemption. So really, he sold his albums. He's fed his family. He has other art. He had other artists to put his energy into. So it's like, are you making this album just to show off longevity, or are you going to end your career? But if that album is trash, we'll end it for you.
That's true. We'll just have to see what happens. Ray Shremmerd announced yesterday that Shrem Life 3 is also done, and that's on the way as well. That's something that I think a lot of people are really looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. With them, at first, I didn't really give them a lot of respect, but they've earned it personally with me. They've come out with a lot of hits over the years and songs that are really catchy and they stay in your head and you just repeat their hooks and stuff. So I think that I'm really interested in this and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to bring out.
I'm not personally interested. I never bought any of them albums. I've heard their songs on radio. I mean, they're cool. It's just not what I look for when it comes to music, but I do respect them. They're funny as hell in interviews.
That's true.
I respect them as artists. I definitely respect not Slim Jimmy, but the other one,
Sway Lee.
Sway Lee, as a writer. I definitely respect him as a writer. But at the same time, I'm not buying the album. But I wish them much success.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. From Life 1, to me, think of all the hits that played on that one. There's like 6 songs that got serious radio time on that. The second one, also pretty big. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but you got songs like Swing and Black Beatles, so, I mean, those 2 songs could almost carry it alone. So I just hope that they can continue to put out solid stuff. It's not music that you listen to and you're like, wow, like he really dropped a really heavy verse on that. It's just like fun, upbeat, sort of party kind of radio music. But I'm looking forward to it. So that's going to do it for us today. LaFlare Radio episode 3. We'll be back up next week, next Thursday. Be on the lookout for episode 4. You can find all of those podcasts on our YouTube channel at LaFlare Media or on the website at laflare.org. Make sure that you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at LaFlare_media. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back next week.